The Battle of Bennington took place on August 16, 1777 in Walloomsac, New York, about 10 miles from Bennington, Vermont. This battle was fought between an American force of 2,000 men composed of New Hampshire and Massachusetts militiamen, led by General John Stark and reinforced by men led by Colonel Seth Warner and members of the Green Mountain Boys. This was against General John Burgoyne's army, which was led by Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Baum and supported by additional men under Lieutenant Colonel Henrik von Bremen. British General John Burgoyne's army was led by Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Baum and supported by additional men under Lieutenant Colonel Henrik von Bremen. Burgoyne's army was a mixed force of Brunswick Dragoons, Canadians, Loyalists, and Indians. The goal was to seize the Lake Champlain and Hudson River corridor, effectively isolating New England from the rest of the American colonies. Burgoyne's invasion had two components. He would lead about 10,000 men along Lake Champlain towards Albany, New York, while a second column of about 2,000 men, led by Barry St. Ledger, would move down Mohawk River Valley and link up with Burgoyne in Albany, New York. The British hoped that if this were to happen, that General George Washington would most likely have to give up the battle for American independence. 185 miles from his Canadian base camp, Burgoyne camped near Fort Edward, New York. He was in desperate need of supplies and horses for his campaign toward Albany. He was sent to raid supplies in Bennington to get horses, draft animals, and other supplies. He believed the town to be only slightly defended by the colonists. Unknown to Burgoyne, General John Stark and about 2,000 militia had been sent to stop him at Walloomsac and were hiding in the woods. The fighting began at 3 o'clock on the afternoon of August 16th. The first shot was fired by Nichols Badeloine, and by 5 o'clock that evening the British troops were retreating. Baum received a mortal wound at this stage of the battle, and his demoralized troops surrendered. As General Stark was taking the captured and wounded enemy soldiers back to Bennington, Colonel Bremen appeared with the second unit of Burgoyne's army, surprising Stark and his men. The Americans fought back, but exhausted and hungry, they slowly gave ground. But just in time, Colonel Seth Warner and his Green Mountain men arrived. only 30 patriots were killed, 40 wounded, and none captured, the enemies had 207 deaths, none wounded, and 700 captured. The Battle of Bennington was an important victory in the American Revolutionary War. This war was not given the credit that it deserves. Without this war, there might not have been a victory at Saratoga, since Bennington reduced Burgoyne's men by close to 1,000 men and deprived him of his necessary supplies. These were the things that caused Burgoyne's surrender at Saratoga.
Victory Screech!